So the first experience that stands out to me is when I was serving in Bloomington, and we had been meeting with a young man who was going to school at IU, and he was really good friends with a family who was also studying at IU. The dad of the family was studying there, and so they knew each other from the same program. And this young man that we were teaching was from Brazil, and he really looked up to Mormons because in Brazil, they're just really popular down there. Everyone loves the Mormons, and he'd always just seen really good things from the Mormon church, and so he loved this family. He'd become really close with them, and finally was able to start meeting with us. And so we started meeting with him in the members' home, which is ideal. That just adds to the spirit times 10. And so, you know, the members teach half the lesson when you're there. So we taught him a few times, and every time we taught him, I just knew there was something special about him, and always had a very strong spiritual connection. And this one particular lesson, we taught him about the plan of salvation, and it was very powerful. He asked a lot of questions, a lot of genuine questions, and got a lot of answers. And by the end of the lesson, he kind of stopped us and he said, you know, before when you were talking about living with God before and you know, the reason that we had to come to earth, it's all very familiar to me. Like, I feel like I learned this before, and it's almost like I knew you before. And my heart just started pounding. And at that point, I knew that he was one of those people that I probably knew before this life. And it wasn't just that moment, but many moments after that and before that, that I just knew he was one of my closest brothers. And I wasn't able to see him be baptized, but I knew that he had something very special going for him, and that someday he will be a very incredible member of the church. So we left that lesson, and my companion and I just hugged and cried, and and that was evidence to me that there are people who are very prepared, and that we are specifically sent for. So that was powerful. The other experience that stands out to me, and there are a million, so it's hard to narrow down to just a couple, but this also happened down in Bloomington. We saw a lot of miracles down there. There was a girl who was studying journalism at IU, and she had always been pretty fascinated with Mormons. She had a friend who had gone on a mission, and she had written him on and off, and he was about to come home. And her mom and her had met with missionaries before, so she was vaguely familiar with the Mormon church, but not super familiar. She still had some ideas that we were kind of crazy. But because she was a journalism major, she had to write articles, and she decided to do a project on Mormon missionaries. And so she called the Institute, which was located right off of campus, and she got our phone number, and she called us and asked us if she could interview us and maybe even follow us for a couple hours and watch us talking to people on campus, because we would just walk around campus and stop people and introduce ourselves and talk with them. And so we set up a time with her, and she followed us on a Sunday night, which is kind of a weird time to walk around on campus. And it was kind of weird for us too. My companion especially thought it was kind of weird. She wasn't too comfortable with it at first, but this girl followed us around, kind of took notes, and then brought us back to the Institute and interviewed us and just asked us a few questions. And then she thanked us, and she said that she was going to start a paper on that. So we kind of just waited for a couple days and got in touch with her again to meet with her because we're missionaries, and so we wanted to meet with her again. And we met with her a second time, and she asked us a few more questions. And I think it was the second lesson that we kind of asked her a few questions too about her faith and what she believed. And we eventually kind of got into this habit of meeting with her consistently, and she would sometimes ask us questions, and then we would specify when we wanted to have a lesson with her. So we kind of went back and forth, and it turned out that everything that we taught her was what her mom had raised her believing. Things about the plan of salvation, things that typically aren't taught within other churches. And she had tried a lot of other churches before, but nothing ever really fit. Nothing ever really felt quite right. And that's why she loved just being with her family, because she knew that what her mom had taught her was true. And so when we started teaching her the same things, I think it kind of scared her at first, because she realized that maybe there was a group that had the fullness of the truth. But it took a while for her to accept that. But one night she prayed for a couple hours and really was just opening herself up to what God wanted for her. And over a period of time, she did receive an answer that this is what she was supposed to do, and she wanted to be baptized. And it was kind of a miracle just the way that it happened, because we went in a little bit critical, not knowing that we were fulfilling our purpose as missionaries, just being interviewed by someone. But it turned into her realizing that this is what was true, and she talked to her family about it. And at this point, she's still waiting to receive their approval to be baptized, but she is one of the strongest non-members of the church. She goes to church every week. She feeds the missionaries, and she's super strong. And we've told her multiple times, and I've felt very strongly that she's going to be an incredible resource for the church and bring a lot of other people with her. And she's one of my best friends now, and I keep in touch with her often, and I love her a lot. And so that was a very special experience in Bloomington.